Hey friends! Today we are starting on chapter 6 of Released. Released is Gypsy Rose Blanchard's first book before My Time to Stand. This was actually published right when she got out of prison. It was completed while she was in prison still. And we are reviewing it now because it's absolutely hilarious to go back and look at the things that she asserted so strongly and what she was literally preaching about to anyone who would listen in this book compared to her actions once she got out and the types of things she says now. So here we go, friends. Chapter 6 on love and freedom. Gypsy has a letter here that she wrote to Ryan. It says, "This is one of a few love letters that I sent to Ryan. I've always been a hopeless romantic, and I find something special about physical letters that you can smell and touch and keep forever. Chillicothe has since gone completely digital for correspondence. It's sad that you can't send physical mail through the prison anymore, but I look forward to one day showing our kids what old-fashioned letters looked like." The actual letter itself says, "Dear Ryan, August 24th, 2020." And at the top, she, of course, included a song, "What Ifs" by Kane Brown, featuring Lauren Alina. So weird. Anyway, not the song. I don't even know the song or those artists, but it's just weird how she does things like that. Even in handwritten communication, like that's Facebook post, chat speak type stuff. The letter says, "Dear Ryan, it is late at night and you are on my mind. I am really excited about you and I moving forward with a relationship. Heart. Suddenly, my fears of another heartbreak has gone away and I feel only 100% happiness. You are like a breath of fresh air, calm and relaxed, but fun and energetic. I like that you and I are both total nerds and can talk about movies we like. It will be so wonderful to watch them with you someday. No matter what we watch, the ending will always be the same. Your lips on mine. This is a picture of me and my dad and stepmom. Your girl, XOX, hashtag Tootsie." Okay, I just got to point out there, it's so weird. Anytime Gypsy is talking sexual to a man in an email or apparently even a handwritten letter, she tends to go straight to her dad right afterwards. Like in this one, she's like, "The ending will always be the same. Your lips on mine." This is a picture of me and my dad. Okay, back to the book. Next page says, "When I got to Chillicothe, I was freer than I had ever been. It's an irony of all ironies, I know. But here in prison, I have traces of independence in that as I live out my day, nobody is holding my hand. The rules, my mother's rules, no longer apply. Number one, stay quiet. Number two, don't seem overly happy or excited because sick people don't have that kind of energy. Number three, when adults talk, don't talk. Number four, don't eat. Nowadays, I don't shut up. I'm very bubbly and I talk to adults all day long. And you can say that I've adjusted well to the eating thing. So, with those four restrictions lifted, my days feel fuller and freer. The one thing that is similar to the life I lived with my mother is that I know where I have to be at all times." Yo, what the hell? Stay quiet? DD always had Gypsy doing public speaking. Don't seem overly happy or excited. She literally tells us at other times, Gypsy does, that one of the lines she was supposed to recite is, "My mom is my best friend," and always seem very, very happy and sweet. Like, what is with the contradictions? And the "when adults talk, don't talk." I don't know about that one, but we've heard from a lot of different people and different places, from Reddit comments to people doing interviews on YouTube and stuff, interviewing with creators on TikTok. We've heard from a lot of different sources, enough for me to believe that this is true. That often, whenever Dee Dee and Gypsy would be seen in public, if Dee Dee would be trying to have a conversation, Gypsy would start whining and fussing about being sick. She didn't like her mom's attention being on someone else. Could that be where one of these so-called rules came from of when adults talk, don't talk? Anyway, and the whole don't eat thing, like what the hell? We've seen so many pictures of Dee Dee giving Gypsy food. And we've also, most of us have looked at the medical records and we've seen where Dee Dee straight up told the doctor that, Gypsy ate and that the feeding tube was used for supplemental nutrition when she couldn't. Very weird, friends. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Anyway, back to the book. Gypsy says, 7:30 a.m., count time. We sit up in our bunks and turn the lights on. Corrections officers, COs for short, account for all inmates. This takes about 15 to 20 minutes, after which I go back to sleep. I don't like getting up that early. 10:30 a.m., get down from my top bunk, click on my TV, make a cup of instant coffee. People imagine prison to be how it is on TV shows like 60 Days In, but where I stay resembles a dorm room's quad. With my coffee in hand, I head to the day room to call Ryan from the phone there. I like to start my day wishing him a good morning. This takes about 15 to 30 minutes before he goes to work as a special education teacher. Go back to my room, look at my locker, pick from my canteen items, make mac and cheese or some other processed packaged food like ramen noodles, and go back to the day room. 1:30 to 3 p.m., we have recreation time. I like to work out on the elliptical machine for about an hour, come back to the housing unit, shower, and by the time I'm out and dressed, it's around 3 p.m. 3 p.m., go to work. My job is custodial, so I take out the trash, sweep, and mop, change toilet paper rolls, and so on, 20 minutes. she jo- Her job was for 20 minutes, friends. What the hell? We've all been thinking she had to work at least like an hour a day. Okay, 4:30 p.m. Count time again. We return to our rooms and sit in our bunks until the COs finish. 5 to 7 p.m. Talk with Ryan. I hear about his day and I tell him about mine. He checks my social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, now X, since I don't have access to the internet. I read to him what I'd like to post and he types it verbatim. 8 p.m. I'm a little antsy about my responses on my social media, so I call Ryan back for him to tell me whether anyone liked my post or shared it. But really, I just love talking to Ryan and hearing his voice. Sometimes we'll watch a movie that I have on my tablet. He'll sync up the same movie on his end and we'll watch it over the phone. We even have a wide selection of movies to choose from, and we tend to watch them for date night, which is reserved for Saturdays. It's so cheesy, but I love it. It's 5 cents a minute to keep him on the phone, so it's expensive, but I like to laugh and react to the movies together. Oh, that is hilarious, friends. So often, several of y'all who are coming into the case kind of new have said in the comments, how on earth was she accessing social media in prison? And I usually reply and say she had Rachel Garlett, Christy, people like that that would post things for her on the outside. I had forgot that she said in the book she had Ryan doing that too. Also, it's hilarious that she put in there that she's antsy about responses to her social media. So she calls Ryan back for him to tell her whether anyone liked the post or shared it. Then she makes an excuse that really she just loves talking to Ryan. We know that's not true. We know that during the time period of this dated letter that she was emailing 3 or 4 other dudes and complaining about how she wasn't attracted to Ryan. Anyway, friends, back to the book. Count time and time for bed. I go to my room and I click on my TV and watch it for a little bit. This count time is different than the morning and afternoon counts. Here we are off our bunks, standing by our door, our ID in our hands, so the COs can easily see our picture and our names. As they walk by, we go back to our bunks, we go to sleep. I've outgrown this version of freedom. Wow, friends, that's a day in prison. I'm not someone who wants prison to be inhumane or anything like that, but friends, where is the punishment? Where is the punishment happening? I've always been someone who believed prison should be punishment and rehabilitation with an equal or even greater focus on the rehabilitation part. But still, my God, like what she's describing here, where is the punishment? This is what she did for 8.5 years as her punishment for doing murder. I don't understand, y'all. Anyway, back to the book again, friends. They go into another one of the Melissa and Gypsy conversations. It says, in big bold letters, this is a free call from an offender at the Chillicothe Correctional Center. To accept this call, press 1. This call may be monitored and recorded. Melissa, hey there, big chapter discussed today, love and freedom. Gypsy, I know, I can't believe it. The last one. I've actually been thinking so much about this chapter. It's the most important to me, because it's the ending, but also the beginning. Melissa, yes, well said. Gypsy, and especially because poor Ryan has been reading Michelle's writing to me chapter by chapter and having to read out loud about everything and everybody other than him. He is such a trooper. I'd keep wanting to say to him, babe, just wait, your time is coming. Melissa, aw, that's really sweet. Best for last. Okay, well, do you want to start there? Or I was going to ask you what freedom is, like what your definition of freedom is. You mentioned you've outgrown the current version of freedom that you at first referred to as a playground. So then, what is freedom to you now? Gypsy, well, I had a feeling you were going to ask that, giggle, so I wrote down some of my thoughts. Can I just read to you? Melissa, sure, even better, I'm recording. Oh, this is funny, friends, because I'm breaking in here to say, I'm pretty sure we just read this email not too long ago in one of the email videos. So, in editing, I'm going to try and find that email after we read this. Let's see what she's got to say, friends. Gypsy says, so, freedom to me is never having to feel like I have to conform myself to the demands of others to feel loved and seen. All of my life, I have had to conform to fit what others wanted me to be. My mother wanted an eternal child. Nick wanted a love slave to control and conquer. And Kian wanted me to be his Barbie. Well, I'm not a child. I'll never be a slave. And I am no blonde Barbie girl. For 32 years, all I ever wanted is to be loved, to be me. I am a quirky brunette with an eclectic personality. When I do interview for shows like Dateline and Dr. Phil, I put on my mask of invisibility. Physically, I'm visible for everyone, but hidden inside, I fear showing myself as vulnerable. Putting on a brave face is easier than letting the world know how much I hurt inside. With many nights contemplating self-unaliving in prison, freedom becomes more of a state of mind. The pain of my past trauma is nothing compared to the guilt I carry for my mother's murder. I'm trying to figure out where she actually give her definition of freedom, friends. I guess she said freedom becomes more of a state of mind. Okay. Wow, how deep and unusual a conclusion for someone incarcerated to come to, that freedom is a state of mind. Oh, my lord, friends. But, oh, Melissa, she kisses her butt about it. Listen to Melissa. Really beautiful. I am sorry you got to a point where you considered ending your life, Gypsy. That's a tragic place to get to. That is a tragic place to get to. It's also a tactic that narcissists use whenever they're in trouble, whenever they've gone too far and they're being held accountable, they threaten self-unaliving. So it's very, very difficult. I always want to take people seriously when they say that, but frankly, there are some people I just don't believe. Anyway, Gypsy says, there was a bunch of hurt I just couldn't deal with. It was around the time of COVID when things felt especially dark. But Melissa, I have to go right now. Melissa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Gypsy, no, you didn't. It's afternoon count time, so I'll call you back in a little bit. So sorry. That was weird. Anyway, then Gypsy, she goes into the ghostwriter's version of trying to make Gypsy seem reasonable. So let's see what they've got to say there, friends. The bold letter describing these paragraphs say, these are the themes of my life. I bet she was wanting it to say, these are the days of my life, and do a little throwback, and they wouldn't let her, just like she wanted it to be Memoirs of a Caged Bluebird. And they're like, no, Gypsy, you're not Maya Angelou. Definitely not. Okay, anyway, these are the themes of my life. From 2019 to 2021, crisis seemed to creep into every corner of my existence. The COVID pandemic penetrated my psyche as it did for many, but it was my spirit that ached. The short window of time that represented both my lowest and my greatest growth. By this time, I had some battle scars. I'd been betrayed several times, from so-called friends to wannabe journalists who lambasted me publicly, to Kian, my fiancé, and first functional romance relationship who broke my heart. Full of shame and guilt, a lousy case of the why me as I lost my faith, forgetting God because I assumed he forgot about me. I struggled to build a rapport with my family members and began to doubt the small amount of self-worth I'd worked to gain since the murder was committed. Okay, that was the first paragraph, friends, and I just got to break in to say that it's very interesting that she claims that she had to actually commit matricide to escape horrific medical abuse, a type that strikes fear into people, Munchausen by proxy, from a mother. But when writing her prelude to her memoir here, her little memoir lewd, whatever, lewd, we know Gypsy's very lewd in these books. The time that she remembers as most complete crisis is Kian breaking up with her in COVID. Isn't that weird, friends? Let me know in the comments if I'm right or if I'm reaching. Okay, next paragraph. The chapter titles of this book, the themes I continue to explore as I write my memoir, are not accidental: trust and betrayal, family and friends, faith in God, becoming a public figure, and self-worth and identity. These things became headwinds along the path I was running out of courage to walk. While the world outside went batshit crazy during the pandemic, I found myself at a crossroads. Do I allow my disillusionment and hardened heart to lead me to wave a white flag of surrender? Or do I keep going with hope and strength in my heart? Time seemed to stand still as I stood frozen in this in-between moment. Then I received a letter. Dun dun dun. So dramatic, friends. Okay, then we go back to another conversation between Gypsy and Melissa. Gypsy, hi, I'm back. Melissa, that was pretty quick. I was able to grab a snack before we continued on to the fun stuff. Love. Gypsy, yes, wow, love. Giggle. I never thought it would happen for me. Not after the devastation I felt when Kian broke our engagement. Melissa, so Ryan just wrote you a letter out of the blue? Gypsy, well, not really. It was on a dare. He had seen my documentary on HBO, which coincidentally was the reason Kian had first contacted me in 2019, right after he watched it. But Ryan didn't write me until much later. I see now that God was waiting. Timing is everything. Melissa, why was he dared to email you? I'm not quite sure I'm following. Gypsy, well, it was during COVID, the 2020 lockdowns, when people were just watching anything and everything on television. And I guess Ryan and his friend were looking for ways to entertain themselves from the boredom of being locked down. So his friend was like, we should write letters to famous people on TV to see if they write back. She had teased that if she could, she'd write Tiger King and asked him who he would write. On a whim, he said, I should write Gypsy Rose Blanchard from HBO. And he actually did. And I get this letter, and I just thought, this guy seems really cool. I wasn't looking for a boyfriend, but it just felt so easy. So I wrote him back. And it just kind of went from there, progressing to phone calls. And he just made me laugh. Ryan always says the way to a woman's heart is through laughter. And I totally agree. We laugh so much all the time. I just love it. I keep calling him because he made me laugh. And we'd have deep conversations about life in general. I figured out very quickly that we have so much in common. He is also from Louisiana and he has that deep, sexy Southern accent. But I didn't want to trust again. There was that choice again. I was still stuck. My fear and feeling that I wasn't good enough were like brick walls that I couldn't bust through. Do I let him in? Do I try this again and risk getting hurt? You have 1 minute left in big bold letters. So funny how they put in all the prison call stuff. Then anyway, Melissa says, and here you are. You must be happy you took the risk. Gypsy. Once I let Ryan into my life, the trust slowly built. We began to pray together and we asked God to be in our life and guide our relationship. I feel like I have a real family to build a future with now. It is all coming together. Melissa, all the themes of your life. This call has ended. And then Gypsy talks about the letter that was in the beginning of this chapter. This section is titled, Dear Ryan. After the above conversation, I used what was left of my commissary money to call Melissa back. I wanted to read her a letter I wrote to Ryan so it could be included in this book. Since Ryan has been reading the manuscript to me over the phone so I can make changes and approve it, it won't be the surprise I wished for him to receive when the book is published. But I guess it's a surprise right now. Dear Ryan, you came into my life in a time when I had hardened my heart. You are so very charming with your sexy Southern accent that makes a woman feel special. Growing up in Louisiana, we have a lot in common, partnered with flirtatious laughter and deep conversation. Our attraction bloomed from there. Remember our back and forth dance of desire for 2 years before we finally made our commitment to each other? I will cherish those moments. Those moments that told me my mother was wrong, that all men aren't out to hurt us. Ryan, you are beyond an amazing husband who has tended to my heart that is heavy with years of pain. You have done and still do so much for me without any complaints. I am not easy, that I know, yet you remain faithful to me in body and mind. I haven't been held before by a man like you hold me. After my past sexual abuse, I still experience roadblocks that prevent me from being 100% comfortable in my own skin and being able to let go and enjoy sexual pleasure. I have never been passionately and tenderly made love to before, but I am reassured that you are the kind of man who will take his time on me. Drawing you that diagram of my scars, my first attempt at vulnerable intimacy. Soon I will be in the flesh. After a lifetime of being in love with the idea of being in love, it is now in my 30s that I found the belonging I always wanted in a family that I had been robbed of growing up. I now have my Southern Prince Charming, who neither stands before or after me, but beside me in our love story. Our wedding day was July 21st, 2022. My friend Lori was my one inmate guest, which was fitting since she has come to all my big milestone events, such as my high school equivalency graduation and even the brief breakup Ryan and I had. She was instrumental in playing the role of friend and also mediator to us both. Oh, look at that pic, friends. Remember Gypsy complaining in the emails about the pictures? She's like, Ryan looks different in every angle. Ah, that's actually not a bad picture of Ryan. Can't stand the guy, but credit where it's due. Then it says, this is a call from, and we go back to Melissa and Gypsy's conversation. Melissa says, hey, happy Halloween. Gypsy says, oh yeah, happy Halloween. You forget in here sometimes when there's holidays, it's not as festive. Melissa, well, just think, next Halloween, you can dress up and pass out candy. Do you think you'll dress up? Gypsy, oh yes, I still love to dress up. When I first got to prison, I took my sheet off my bunk and wore it as a toga and did the whole ancient Greece thing. Then the shine wore off and I stopped dressing up. I'll probably have Ryan dress up with me next year. I really want to do Beauty and the Beast. I still like Disney, but I don't make my whole life revolve around it. I can beat anyone at Disney trivia. Sometimes I make Ryan ask me questions and he's like, babe, no way you can know this. And I'm like, well, I'm not cheating. I don't have the internet. Gypsy says, Ryan and I have personalized New Orleans Saints football jersey that say Anderson on the back. Mine has number 7 on it and Ryan's has number 21 on it, which is our anniversary. Melissa, that's so cute. Gypsy, and I always say when we have a baby, we should wear our jerseys and dress the baby up like a football for Halloween. Laughter, laughter, laughter. Melissa, so do you think you'll have kids right away? Gypsy, well, I don't want to wait too long. I'm already 32, but I do want Ryan and I to have some time as newlyweds and actually have a real wedding and go on a honeymoon. I'm thinking Hawaii. Melissa, I did wonder about your plans for when you initially get out. I mean, aside from bucket list stuff, which must be a long list because, everything is going to be new to you, not just from the freedom of being out of prison, but because you didn't have many experiences growing up. Gypsy, right, right. Well, I need to find a therapist. That's definitely on my list. And I want to get some work done on my nose and exercise and really focus on healthy eating. That's a big goal of mine. The food they give you in prison is very processed and unhealthy. I want to learn the right way to eat whole foods and use nutrition to keep healthy. Melissa, that's a great goal. Do you have any concerns about navigating the freedom you will have? Do you think you'll be waking up at the crack of dawn automatically for count time? Or just stop in the middle of the day feeling like you're forgetting something because you would usually report for your custodial job or for afternoon and evening count? I got to break in here, friends, to say this conversation must be when Melissa Moore emailed Gypsy all the diet tips. For those of y'all who remember from that one last email video on Gypsy and Melissa Moore's emails. Okay, Gypsy says, yes, I think that may happen for sure. My body is trained, but I don't have concerns per se. I know Ryan and I are very similar in many of our habits. Like we both need white noise to sleep, and he is terrific cook while I hate to cook. He makes the most amazing gumbo. So we have a yin yang thing going. I think it will be an adjustment to not only being married, but to living with a man. I never lived with my dad or grew up living with a brother. It was always me and my mom, girl stuff. So yeah, that will be something. Melissa, yes, the wonders of living with men. They hide out in the bathroom, I'm pretty sure. It's a thing when they don't want you to be around you, I swear. What the hell? Okay, friends, do any of your husbands hide from you in the bathroom? Or boyfriends? Any of you have male partners? Mine doesn't. I've not always been in the relationship I am in now. I've been in bad relationships with the past, and I have had men who, just didn't like me at the end of the relationship, but didn't have the balls to break up. Whenever someone is done with a relationship, but they don't want to do the hard thing of breaking up, often they try and create distance. They don't want to be around the other person. The normal way for men to do that is usually to plan activities with their buddies, take trips, stay at work, work long hours, maybe even have an affair, see another woman, another man, whatever. I've never heard of a man hiding out in the bathroom to avoid their woman. Many of y'all. Oh my God. I've read this book before, but I completely forgot about this. Now I can't just stop wondering how annoying Melissa Moore must be at home for she thinks her husband hides from her in the bathroom and she's not afraid to put that in a book. Oh my God. What do y'all think, friends? Am I way off base here? Does Melissa Moore know what she's talking about? I've just never heard of this. Maybe I'm living under a rock. Let me know. Anyway, Gypsy says, I guess I'll find that if that's true. I'll let you know. No, Gypsy hid in the bathroom all the time. Oh, that was an unexpected hilarity. Anyway, okay, so their conversation continues. Gypsy shows a little drawing she made here. Says, after our wedding ceremony, Ryan and I traced our hands to capture our new union and wedded bliss. Gypsy says, we balance each other. I'm very impulsive and act on emotion, and Ryan is very calm. He waits things out, weighs the options, and then takes action. That helps me a lot because I have this hyper no filter personality. I don't have anger issues, but I am quick to be sassy. My words have teeth sometimes. He will calm that situation down, but I have to be careful not to keep doing that. And I will work with a therapist to learn to catch myself so I don't wear him down. Everyone has their limits. It sounds like Gypsy knows that when she gets out, she knows she's going to act a fool to Ryan. She's not going to be able to help herself. She doesn't like him. She's not attracted to him, and they're going to be on camera. So she's trying to set the stage a little bit. Says, I know I'm going to be acting a fool to him, but I'm going to get therapy for it, y'all. Anyway, Melissa says, do you worry about anything that you guys will have to deal with at all? Sounds like you aren't too worried about living together, but do you ever discuss things you'll need to watch out for or possible problems? Married life is hard enough, but you guys have even more to deal with. Gypsy says, I think the only thing we will need to be patient and careful about is me getting out and being the public figure we discussed. But also Ryan will be public now too. He's going to be in the docuseries and going to go from being, I guess, obscure to recognizable. Ryan sometimes is like, what if you want to go drinking and bar hopping because you never did that before or want to experience hooking up and stuff? And I'm like, that sounds terrible. Why would I ever want to hook up with strangers who don't know me or care about me? By the way, I haven't ever had alcohol, so I don't know if I will want it. I would never cheat. I'm not a cheater. My whole life has been centered on instability. Random hookups will be going back to chaos, not the stability that I enjoy with my husband. But I think after I saw how strangers can come out of the woodwork to befriend you once you are on TV, I mean, remember those people who even wrote to Dad and Christy? What if people start writing to Ryan? Will it all become just too much noise? Will my insecurity turn on? I don't want that for us. Melissa, what do you want? Gypsy, I want what my mother didn't have, which is what I think made her the way that she was. I want a stable, loving family. I want an adoring, faithful, present husband. I want a successful career as an advocate, to make real change and impact, and to live with purpose. I want to help others, especially helpless children, even if I never meet them. I want healthy and happy children of my own and friends who have my back and who turn to me when they need a hug or a compassionate ear because they believe they can rely on me. I want to be self-assured, confident, and constantly learning. I want to make people laugh and feel joy. I want to try and give back to the people and organizations that were hurt by my mother and me.
And I did the time, I did the crime, did the time, did my time on parole, case is closed. I owe nobody else anything. I don't owe anybody a fucking thing.
I want God's plan for me to reveal itself and for God to bless Ryan and me forever. I want God to forgive me and take care of my mother in heaven.
Just talking all kinds of crap and like, oh yeah, she's just bashing a dead woman and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, if nobody wants to be talked about in a negative way after they are no longer on this earth, then be a good fucking human being. You don't see anybody talking good about Hitler.
I want to make my mother's life mean something. I want to learn to live my life in the way my mother didn't know how to. I want the happily ever after. I want to be released. And then in big bold letters it says, this book has ended. May the next one begin. Good Lord. Okay, on that last thing there, Gypsy says, I want what my mother didn't have, which is what I think made her the way she was. What the actual hell? She thinks that being a single mom is the kind of life sentence that caused Gypsy to feel like she was justified in murdering Dee Dee? Like this is hard to word, but do y'all get what I'm saying, friends? Gypsy's whole story is she claims that Dee Dee was mentally ill and medically abused her, but she just said here that she thinks the reason is just because, well, she didn't have a man that loved her, adoring, faithfully, and present. A lot of women don't. And a lot of those women, even if they have sick children, don't turn to conning and scamming in order to indulge those sick children with some sort of princess lifestyle. You know what I mean? So even though I'm not excusing some of Dee Dee's actions with the conning and scamming, we've all talked about that before if you're not new to my channel. I never believed Gypsy's story of medical abuse because the evidence just isn't there. All I believe Dee Dee did was exaggerate things and say things that weren't happening to charities to get extra things for Gypsy. But Gypsy maintains that Dee Dee was horribly mentally ill and medically abused her. And she states here that she believes the reason for that is because, well, Dee Dee did.
You're just mad because I have a Chad. And last time I checked, you don't have a man. So, looks like you're the one that's panini pressed. Call a spade, honey. Keep making content.
What on earth? She thinks not having a man will make a woman crazy? This is a woman, Gypsy Rose, who once came out as bisexual. She knows about lesbians, but yeah, she thinks that simple lack of a man made Dee Dee do things that in her mind, in Gypsy Rose's mind, made her worthy of murder. I don't believe Dee Dee deserved murder.
Con artist, and she was a shit piece of mom. She was a shit piece of mom.
Anyway, I'm just rambling now, friends, because that last bit just really threw me for a loop. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, and then on top of that, like Gypsy thinks not having a man is what, in her mind, made her have to take Dee Dee out. But she also admits in her emails that Dee Dee did have boyfriends after Rod and that Gypsy ran them off. She says that one named Mark, her and Dee Dee got so serious, he even made a place for them, a room for them in his home, and Gypsy spit on him because she hated the thought of her mom being with anyone but her dad. Very, very weird, friends. Well, that is the end of the book. We'll go out with a little palate cleanser. I'm trying to decide, I think for the next book we review, we could go over some stuff in My Time to Stand, but also there's a VC Andrews book that I've been wanting to review for a while that several of y'all in the comments turned me on to last year, actually, and, months ago. The book has a character named Ruby, and y'all were telling me you're pretty sure Gypsy took a lot of her storylines from there. So we might start going over that one next with a little bit of My Time to Stand mixed in there. And I've got a new section of the North Korea book about Kenji Fujimoto, Kim Jong-il's sushi chef, which is a wild read, friends. That's going to be up soon. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the palate cleanser. I hope everyone's having a good day. Let me know what you think of all this craziness in the comments, friends.